Okay, so this is the part 2 because I had run out of storage space the last time. And anyway, so number 7, because I left off on number 6, which was about phones. And number 7 is about tents. So, something that you should know is that tents aren't waterproof. Tents are really just for a comfort feeling, which only works if you have a flat, clear, isolated place to put it. Tents can and will be broken. And okay, I'm a little confused, but wait, where I have wrote this right here, and I don't know what that was supposed to mean, but tents can and will be broken into if you're around other homeless people, especially if they think you're not in there. And oh yeah, that says number 3, and this is kind of a number 2, I guess. For like, I don't know, the most important things about tents, or the most important thing to remember. I don't know. I don't even remember why I wrote that, but tents with poles last longer, but the poles will eventually pop. I had a $20 tent from Amazon for over a year. I had to use wound tape to patch up holes on the bottom. Because basically there was this whole thing that happened when I was in Alabama for 2 weeks, where the park people, somebody had snitched about the tent. Because of course people don't like homeless people, and I know when I was down there, people kept spitting on my tent and they would scream stuff at me at like 12 a.m. Like, get a job. I mean, if I would have been able to, I would have. But of course, it's not really that the people were trying to like be rude to me because they didn't know that I was even the one in there. Really, it's just this wait a minute. What is it? What did I call it? I don't know. I'm just gonna say the lies pushed through the media about the homeless population, which makes people think that the homeless population is just a whole bunch of lazy adults. And of course, people are going to want to push that anyway because the people in America don't like to admit the stuff that actually goes on here. So nobody wants to admit that the homeless population is a whole bunch of kids, really, that get stuck out here. And then there's the homeless adults. Then, of course, there's other people that got driven crazy in the military and brainwashed and all that. Then they end up homeless with no legs and stuff like that. But then the other thing is the foster kids, but I mean, that goes along with the first thing I said when it comes to homeless kids. So, yeah. Okay, where was I? Oh, yeah, but while the park people, the staff in Alabama were pulling my tent from this, like, hill I had at the bottom of, because there was a wall right there, and you couldn't see the tent unless you looked over the wall. It was actually a really good spot, to be honest. And luckily, it either didn't rain that much or it didn't rain at all really while I was there. So there was only no, it did rain because there was this one time where my passwords and stuff got wet again, and then I had to hang that in my sleeping bag on the tree. But luckily it was hot enough to where all of my stuff was mostly dry, or at least dry enough by the time I needed to lay back down. That was a really good spot though, I'm not gonna lie. I got some really good sleep there. Okay, wait a minute. I didn't say what I was supposed to say. So I had stuff in my tent, and since I kept a lock on the door, the park staff couldn't get in the tent to get all the stuff out. So the holes got in there because they were trying to drag it with a whole bunch of stuff in it. And then I was able to just patch those up. So anyway, the next thing is pop-up tents are too expensive, break too easy, and they're impossible to put back in the bag, which I already talked about in my other video, and I even showed the pop-up tent that I have and the size of it and the shape and all that. Although I didn't take it out because I don't want to do that till I actually need to use it, because I'm not going to be able to get it back up and it's probably going to end up breaking. So even if you have a tarp or rain fly on your tent, water can still come through the floor, and I mean, some will even get through that. But there will also be tons of water inside on the floor and walls from condensation and respiration. And then number 8 is tent being cold. Remember, tents don't keep you warm. An $89+ sleeping bag, hand warmers, and a ski mask does. Never put your head in the sleeping bag. This will get water in it and can make you more cold or cause frostbite. Same thing with sweat, so don't wear multiple layers of clothes in the sleeping bag. Although I honestly still did put my head in the sleeping bag because I didn't have a ski mask or anything, but I did eventually start wearing this other mask I had. And then there's this point where my old tent had water in it, and I just didn't feel like taking everything down and taking everything out and pouring the water out, which didn't end well for me in the long run, but that's another story. And so anyway, I just had to like get a big trash bag and I had to put my sleeping bag and covers in there. But the bad thing about that was the condensation and respiration built up so much in the trash bag that my sleeping bag and covers were in, that I was laying in, to where there was water all in there and my covers were soaking wet. It's honestly crazy. You never really know how much condensation and respiration you let out until you're living somewhere with no ventilation. It's like you would think you're melting or something. Not that that really makes sense, but it's like a lot of water comes out of you and you really just, you don't know until stuff like that happens, or at least you're in that type of predicament. And I think I was told in this homeless support group that you let out like a gallon of water plus overnight or something like that. But yeah, so wait a minute, where's the next thing? You need pee bottles and trash bags for using the bathroom. Which, something that I put it on the end on another page is that when you become homeless, you're gonna have to get used to using the bathroom outside if you're not already, because places aren't gonna want you to use their bathrooms if they know that you're homeless. So when you get to a point where you aren't able to wash your clothes, you're not able to shower, and you really start to look homeless, that's when you're going to start getting treated funny, and places aren't going to let you use their bathrooms anymore if they did before. Or if a place sees you too much asking to use their bathroom, then they're going to know that you're homeless, and then they're going to stop letting you use their bathroom. And that also reminds me of something that I meant to write, which is that you only need to bring clothes that are like for when it's really hot, and like really you should only wear underwear when you're on your period. But yeah, clothes for when it's really hot, and then for your period, and then for when it's really cold, and then that's it. Because you're not going to be able to wear all the clothes that you think you're going to be able to, really, no matter how long you're out here, because it's just going to be a lot of stuff to carry around, and then eventually it's all going to get dirty, and you're not going to be able to wash most of it, and you may eventually just have to throw it away or something, because it's gonna have holes in it, and it's gonna be dirty, and eventually stains don't come out, and your goal is to try to not look homeless for as long as you can. So yeah, there's that. So where was I? Okay, hold up. I'm just gonna start the sentence over. You need pee bottles and trash bags for using the bathroom. This is for when you're in a tent too. I forgot to say that when you don't have a tent and you have to use a bathroom like in the middle of the night, or really anywhere where there is no bathroom, unless you're not near your tent anyway, because then that's another story. But when you don't when you don't have a tent, for like if you have to use the bathroom or have diarrhea and have to throw up in the middle of the night, although you can kind of throw up anywhere really, you're going to be in a bad predicament. Because there was this one time where I didn't have a spot for a while, And I didn't have a tent either because my old tent post had popped when I got kicked out this mountain cliff I was living on, which is kind of a whole nother story that I don't even want to go into. But basically, one night, I don't know, I was sick or something, but I had, actually, no. This is before I started healing my gut. But I think I also had to throw up, or maybe that was another day. No, that wasn't, okay, wait a minute. I had diarrhea because, as people may know, I've had like a lot of stomach issues for like the past 5 years. Then I started treating myself naturally and like wait a minute, like November last year, because I started getting more ideas of what I could possibly have, and so I've been getting better now. But this was a while ago, so I was just laying behind this bush at this place in my sleeping bag, and then I woke up in the middle of the night. My stomach was hurting really bad because that's what happened when I still had really, really bad gut issues because of all the multiple moving pieces that made my health go downhill to where I dropped down to 80 pounds in 2020 and couldn't gain weight anymore after that. And so, yeah, anyway, I didn't know what in the world to do. And then I just had to, like, use the bathroom somewhere. And I'm just going to say that there wasn't any areas where I wasn't really visible, and it's kind of like there were bushes, but they weren't. That was really, really bad. So basically, what you really, really need is tissue, a tent, and sleeping bag. But to have a tent, you actually need to put a place to put the tent. That's where it gets really bad because it can be hard to find a place to put a tent, especially if it's really big. Which is why if you're not like more than like, I don't know, five or something. Well, I don't know. I can barely fit in a 2-man tent. But if you know you can't fit in a 2-man tent, no. If you know you can't fit in a 2-man tent, don't get anything bigger than that. Because it's going to be really hard to find a spot for anything bigger than that. And it's already hard enough to find spots for a tent anyway. And a tent is like the best thing to have if you have like issues like me where you have to pee every 2 seconds and stuff. Or you just have to have diarrhea and you gotta throw up sometimes. But like I said, you can kind of throw up anywhere, but it's not going to look good because people are going to think you have COVID or something. But yeah, you don't want to have to use the bathroom at like 12 a.m. and then have nowhere to use the bathroom and then you have diarrhea at a park. That's not what you want at all. And then people, I don't even want to go into that. But anywho, yeah, so anyway. Where was I? Okay, I found my spot. So, you should get black trash bags that aren't see-through. You really don't want see-through trash bags. And just keep that in mind. And you need a big, tall, clear water bottle, like the ones that are for exercise. And the reason you want the water bottle to be clear and really tall is because this leaves more room, especially if you have health problems like I do and you have to pee every 2 seconds. You don't want to have to like get out of the tent in below freezing weather or something at 12 a.m. to pour out a pee bottle. So you really want it to be as like the biggest one you can find. And then you want it to be clear because this makes how full it is visible, which can help you not over pee in the pee bottle like I did a lot of times, which sometimes I even still did because it was just hard to see at night. But it can help you not like pee too much in, and then the pee starts flowing out and the bottle's full, and then you have pee all over your sleeping bag. That happened to me so many times. You also really want to have pee bottles and stuff because you don't want to like have to hold your pee all night, especially if your health is really messed up like mine, or if it's really, really cold, because that'll make you have to pee more, because then you can end up peeing in your sleeping bag at night in your sleep, which that also happened to me once. And then I didn't have anywhere to wash anything either, so I just had to like pour the last little bit of baking soda, which I was using that to brush my teeth, but I had to pour that on my sleeping bag to try to like cover up the smell, and then I had to hang my sleeping bag in a tree to dry. And that was not good because you don't want to walk around smelling like pee, which luckily I didn't end up smelling like pee. But oh yeah, I had to dry my pants too, which is why you really want to make sure you have like, you don't want to have a lot of clothes, but you want to have a good amount for something like that happens. Because I had to like pour baking soda on those and then change into some shorts I had and then hang those in a tree, those being my pants. But yeah, I forgot to say, if you're smelling like pee, people are going to treat you bad, which goes along with the whole homeless hate thing. Or just, if you're homeless, people are going to feel some type of way about you. But honestly, I don't know. I think I knew more people with houses that stunk, to be honest, but I'm not even going to get into that. So, where was I? Oh yeah, and another reason you want a big water bottle is because the opening makes it easier for you to aim into, at least if you're a female, because you don't want to have to get a pee funnel if you have no way to get a pee funnel. Because I know that the one that I have over here, the resource center got for me, but I wasn't able to get that till like a few months ago. So I was having a lot of incidents before that. And like I said, even after that, because sometimes you just can't see and you overfill the bottle no matter what. So anyway, and wait, where am I? Okay, I already said that. After you use the bathroom, just put the bag out the window or door until you have time to throw it away. And you can pour out the pee bottles in the morning or whatever when you get up. But you may have to wash these or something every so often, or at least get a new one after like, I don't know, a couple months or something, because pee bottles can start to grow mold, believe it or not. I don't know if that's supposed to happen, but at least, well, in the plastic water bottles that didn't happen, but in like the exercise water bottles it did happen. But those are also plastic, some of them anyway. I don't know, but yeah, you might have to eventually get another one. Okay, even if it's super cold at night, don't try to get out the sleeping bag fully. No. I wrote this wrong. Even if it's super cold at night, you need to get out the sleeping bag completely and don't try to like pee in the pee bottle while being halfway in the sleeping bag or whatever, because you're gonna have some incidents like I did and you're gonna be really depressed because you're gonna have a sleeping bag full of pee and you're not gonna be able to lay in it because you're gonna be cold and you're gonna stink. In fact, there was other times my sleeping bag got soaking with wet, which I kind of already mentioned, but okay, I'm messing this up. What was I gonna? Oh yeah, when I was talking about the whole trash bag thing, that was because of rain. But what was I gonna say? Yeah, when your sleeping bag is soaking wet, or at least even a little wet, that's really, really, really depressing, and you don't want that. Keep losing my place. Okay, so anyway, get all the way out the sleeping bag. This will save you from getting pee in your sleeping bag and having cold, depressing nights. Don't try to pee over your sleeping bag either. So, like, you want to. Well, I mean, this depends on how big your tent is, to be honest. But I did have one tent where I did have enough room to not try to, like, use a pee bottle and then be over or on top of the sleeping bag at the same time. But anyway, number 9 is tent safety. Sleep with weapons nearby, like really beside you. Put a key lock on your doors when you're inside or gone. This can slow someone down, and especially if they don't have a knife or whatever, because like if they have a knife, it's easier to cut into Oh, dang, the background noise is throwing me off. It's easier to cut into the sleeping bag if they have a knife, but if they don't have one with them, or if they don't really want to do all that, the lock can slow them down. So, like, if you're on the inside of the tent, unless you have more than one door anyway, the lock is going to be on the inside, which also can be risky if, like, somebody sets your tent on fire, but that's why you should try to avoid being near people anyway, especially messed up people. You really need to avoid that. But when you leave the tent, the lock's going to be on the outside. So, yeah. Put them on your windows too if you even have windows. But, like, especially if you leave. If you're inside the tent, you may not have to do that. But, I mean, I had a lady look in my tent once because I think she was trying to rob me. Because something that I noticed is that at least around here, people aren't going to try to rob you if they know you're in there because they know you may have weapons or something. And they don't know who's in the tent either. So, like, you could be bigger and stronger than them. So, people are more likely to rob your tent if they know you're not in there. And I've had people like that lady one night look in there, and then when she saw that I was in there, she walked away. And then, like, there was this one time where some people were throwing rocks at my tent, and then I turned the light on, and they were like, oh, we were just trying to make sure you're not dead. Really, they were trying to make sure I wasn't in there to rob me. But luckily, I actually didn't even get robbed. That was actually a good spot. Well, I did once, but that was by this dude who didn't even live around there, and he was just trying to find some stuff to steal so he could sell it for money. So he stole my DS and stuff. I was able to get it back, but yeah. Which is also something else to keep in mind that really, since people don't have a spot to put stuff, they're not going to take anything from you that they don't actually need. Because, like, I mean, I had some clothes that I thought people would want to steal, but they didn't because they know they can't fit in. They're probably not going to be able to find somebody to buy it from them. Especially my size, and nobody out here can fit my clothes. So there isn't really a reason for them to do that unless it's really something that they could actually sell. But, yeah. So, okay, wait. Windows. Keep a light inside, like a lamp, a battery-powered lamp, or something like that. Open your windows during the day to dry up condensation and respiration. Have a thick mat on top of an emergency blanket, if you can even get an emergency blanket, which that's why I say you really need to try to get to an area with a lot of homeless help. Well, I mean, there's never really going to be a lot, but with enough to where you could, like, get an emergency blanket every now and then, and hand warmers and stuff. But yeah, you want to be laying on top of a mat. You really want to be on top of a flat surface, and you want it to be clear too. And when I say clear, I mean you don't want sticks and rocks and stuff that's stabbing you under your tent, because that's gonna really mess you up. It can put holes in your tent. And my back actually got messed up a while ago. I still need a chiropractor, and that was in like December or something, because eventually the blood mattress I had just kept going down while I was laying on it at night, and I'd wake up and it'd be flat, and I just got tired of that. So I threw that away, and then my back just went downhill after that because I was laying on a hill, and that isn't how you should be laying, and that messes your back up. And so now I still need a chiropractor. My back still hurts and stuff, and yeah. And also, I think the mattress I have right now is too soft, but I still feel like if my back wouldn't have already got messed up in like December, the mattress wouldn't even be bothering me. But yeah, so anyway, emergency blanket under your sleeping bag, and wait a minute. Even if you're on clear, flat ground, which is basically even if the ground is like clean and you moved all the sticks and rocks or there was none, and you're not like on a hill, you still should try using, well, not even should try, you should use a mat if you have one. And I mean, you can even use a blow-up mattress if you want, but that's going to take up a lot of room. Because, like, the one I had was it was slim, but it couldn't fit in my last tent. And that caused a lot of issues, which was part of why, well, no, I don't even really know how to explain that, but yeah, you need a mat. And you want to fold it or cut tarp under your tent. Preferably cut tarp, because I folded mine and had terrible water bubble pockets building up in the tarp that was under my tent that eventually came through the floor and was like sleeping on a broke water bed. Never sleeping in big or small cities. So like there's this term that people have where they say in the streets, which I mean, I always say you can have a house and be in the streets, because being in the streets, that's kind of a choice thing though, because to be in the streets, that means you're talking to people you shouldn't be, you're doing things you shouldn't be with people you shouldn't be doing it with, and that can mean a lot of different things. But you should never be in the streets or sleeping in cities. You should really always try to sleep in the woods somewhere, in an isolated area. You should never, especially if you're doing the lay low till 18 thing, you shouldn't be sleeping in cities, because that's going to get you seen. And always set up camp in a memorable, isolated place in the woods. Never stay in homeless camps or in an area with lots of homeless nearby. And that depends on where you are, because honestly, the bad thing about that is that the areas with the most homeless are obviously going to have the most homeless resources, like soup kitchens and places to get food. But like if I was in North Carolina right now, especially where I'm from, I already know plenty of great wooded areas with clear ground that I could set up a tent at. But since there aren't a lot of homeless people there would be nowhere for me to get food, at least not for free, and then that would be a really big issue, especially doing the lay low till 18 thing, since you can't work a job or get food stamps or anything. So, this could get you raped or robbed. And be in your tent or a safe spot before dark. Never wander around at night. Don't think that because you're in a crowd in broad daylight, that means you're safe. Because I know people say things like never be anywhere where there aren't a lot of people around, but that's bull crap, which I'm about to go into. You may already know from your abuse that people won't save you, and it's the same anywhere else. A crowd of people will watch you get raped, kidnapped, or robbed and pretend they saw nothing. Many won't even call the police, and the police may not even care. So always be prepared to defend yourself. And number 10 is side tips, which this is where I state that thing that I meant to say some pages back, which is that I forgot to mention that part of being homeless is accepting you have to use the bathroom outside and may not be able to bathe often, at least not until you find an isolated spot to set up camp and make a tub, which of course, making a tub takes money. It honestly doesn't take that much money, but when you have no way to get money at all, it's pretty hard to build a bathtub. Because I already know some ways I could do it, but it's like I'd have to find an isolated enough spot, like where people aren't going to be secretly watching from their own camps. And I mean, I would set up a curtain though, but like I would still have to have an isolated enough spot. They can't be somewhere that's somewhat public or there's other people around, or at least not a lot of other people. And I don't want my tub to get stolen. And also, I would just have to have the money for that. But yeah, anyway. There's going to be a point in time where it's too hot to be in a tent. This is going to be a different time in every spot you move to. It's commonly anywhere from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. And then it could be later too. But people say don't stay anywhere longer than 3 days, but I disagree. That will just lead you down the road of instability. And along with the whole instability thing, it kind of goes into what I said in the last video revolving around that girl that I mentioned. Because people will get addicted to being in survival mode and having to run and running around the world and wandering aimlessly because, like, for one, once you escape an abuse situation and you get that adrenaline rush from escaping and the relief from knowing that you're finally free, you can get addicted to that feeling. That's also another reason, other than the whole survival mode thing, that you'll just keep wandering around aimlessly and not even stay stable long enough anywhere to get your vital records or to get a little bit of money to get real survival gear. Okay, so the next thing is, after the down the road of instability, paying for transportation is really expensive. So up and moving every 3 days will take away from your food money, your survival gear money. And it can also make you take the risk of hitchhiking, which some people do that, like that girl that I mentioned in my last video and I was just talking about. But I honestly don't see how people can hitchhike. I don't know how you can see that even the people that were supposed to take care of you and protect you didn't, which that's like the abusive parents and relatives. I don't know how you can go through that and then be willing to hop in random people's cars. But I mean, of course, if you have good discernment and the person's trustworthy, but I mean, when you're hitchhiking, you're just holding up a sign and hoping for anybody to come by, and that's, I couldn't do it. I just couldn't. But anyway, you really just need to get states away from where you ran from and pre-check your destinations for good wooded areas on Google Earth. I accidentally put Google Maps, but it's Google Earth. That's actually where I found the mountain spot that I got kicked off of. And I did have a video about that, but that was on the evidence channel.